The gavel slammed down, echoing through the somber courtroom. In the United States, the judge had said moments earlier, over 40% of divorced couples cite financial disputes as the primary cause of conflict post-separation. This statistic had hung in the air, a stark reminder of the harsh reality confronting Jane Thompson and her ex-husband Mark. Jane sat at the plaintiff's table, her lawyer by her side, armed with a meticulously prepared case. Mark on the other side looked weary, his lawyer whispering strategies in his ear. At the center of their dispute wasn't just a number or a settlement, it was their 7-year-old daughter, Emily. "The question is simple, Your Honor," Jane's lawyer began. "What level of financial support is reasonable to ensure Emily's well-being? My client believes the answer lies in a stable and secure income from the defendant, approximately $150,000 annually." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. For Jane, this demand wasn't about greed. It was about survival and fairness. The judge's expression remained neutral as he prepared to deliberate. A week earlier, Jane had been sitting in her modest 2-bedroom apartment, staring at a stack of bills. As a school teacher, her steady but modest income was barely enough to cover rent, utilities, and food, let alone Emily's extracurricular activities. Meanwhile, Mark's sporadic freelance career made his contributions unreliable. "I'm not asking for luxury," Jane confided to her best friend Lisa over coffee. "I just want Emily to have what she needs without constantly worrying about how to make ends meet." Lisa stirred her latte thoughtfully. "But $150,000, that's ambitious. Do you think Mark can even pull that off?" Jane's face hardened. "He's capable. He's just not trying hard enough. He'd rather spend his time chasing gigs that don't pay off instead of finding a stable job." The financial pressure weighed heavily on Jane, but the emotional toll was just as taxing. She often felt like she was failing, not as a woman, but as a mother. Every compromise she made felt like a betrayal of Emily's potential. Mark's perspective couldn't have been more different. Sitting in his cluttered studio apartment, he vented to his brother, Tom. "She acts like I'm some millionaire who's just holding back," Mark said, pacing the room. "I'm doing my best, but freelancing isn't stable, and it's not like I'm shirking my duties. I'm paying what I can." Tom leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Have you tried explaining that to her? Maybe she doesn't understand the unpredictability of your work." Mark shook his head. "She doesn't want explanations. She wants guarantees." The gulf between their expectations was widening, with no clear path to reconciliation. Mark felt trapped, unable to meet demands that seemed increasingly unrealistic. Jane's demand for financial stability wasn't just about Emily. It was about societal expectations. Mothers were often seen as the primary caretakers, bearing the brunt of financial and emotional responsibility. Jane felt this weight acutely. "People don't realize how much pressure there is to be the perfect mom," she said during a group therapy session for divorced parents. "If anything goes wrong, it's on me. If Emily doesn't have what she needs, everyone will look at me, not Mark." Meanwhile, Mark felt society's gaze from a different angle. He was expected to be the provider, regardless of his personal struggles. "Men are just ATMs," he told Tom bitterly. "No one cares if I'm drowning as long as the checks keep coming." Their conflict wasn't just about money, it was about the roles they'd been forced into and their struggle to meet expectations they hadn't chosen. The courtroom was tense as the judge prepared to deliver the ruling. Both Jane and Mark had presented their cases, bearing their fears and frustrations. Jane's lawyer had highlighted the cost of raising a child, while Mark's defense focused on the impracticality of the $150,000 demand. "I've considered the evidence carefully," the judge said. "Child support is about meeting the needs of the child, not fulfilling the aspirations of either parent." The ruling was a compromise. Mark was ordered to provide consistent support, but the amount was tied to his actual earnings rather than Jane's projected figure. Both parties left the courtroom with mixed emotions. Later that evening, Mark called Jane. "Can we talk?" he asked. Not as adversaries, as Emily's parents. They met at a park, watching Emily play on the swings. For the first time in months, they spoke honestly about their fears and hopes. By the end of the conversation, they'd agreed to work together to ensure Emily's happiness, even if it meant setting aside their personal grievances. Their story didn't end in the courtroom. The months that followed were filled with adjustments and realizations. Jane, inspired by the compromises they reached, took on additional professional development courses to expand her career prospects. Her evenings were spent poring over books and attending workshops, determined to create a financial safety net for herself and Emily. Meanwhile, Mark began restructuring his freelance career. He sought out long-term contracts that provided a steadier income. The unpredictability of his previous work had been a constant source of anxiety, and stabilizing his earnings became a priority. He even started setting aside a portion of his income for emergencies, recognizing the importance of financial planning. The relationship between Jane and Mark also began to improve. They maintained weekly check-ins to discuss Emily's needs and schedules. These conversations, once filled with tension, became collaborative. Over time, they found themselves working as a team rather than adversaries. One evening, Jane received an unexpected message from Mark. It was a picture of Emily proudly holding a certificate from her art class, a program Mark had suggested and helped fund. Jane smiled, realizing how far they had come. As time went on, Jane began to explore the possibility of dating again. Her experiences had reshaped her priorities, and while financial stability remained important, she also sought emotional support and partnership. She joined a local group for single parents, where she met others navigating similar challenges. Mark, too, found himself opening up to the idea of new relationships. He met someone through a networking event who shared his passion for creative pursuits. While hesitant at first, he found solace in the companionship and understanding she offered. For both Jane and Mark, these new relationships were a chance to redefine what they wanted in life and love. They remained committed to co-parenting Emily, and often sought each other's advice on navigating their respective journeys. Looking back, Jane reflected on the unrealistic nature of her initial expectations. The $150,000 figure had been born out of fear and frustration rather than practicality. Through her journey, she learned the value of compromise and self-reliance. Mark, too, recognized the importance of transparency and stability. His struggles had taught him resilience and the need for open communication. Together, they had navigated the complexities of modern parenting, emerging stronger and more empathetic. Their story became a testament to the power of collaboration and the importance of putting a child's needs above personal grievances. Jane and Mark's journey wasn't perfect, but it was real, a reflection of the challenges faced by countless parents worldwide. Jane and Mark's story highlights the complex dynamics of parenting after divorce, the weight of societal expectations, and the importance of communication and compromise. What do you think about Jane's expectations? Are they justified or too demanding? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking stories